I love your work. I love, just on the side note, I love how you do it. I love, but more than anything else, I love the trail that you're leaving. And with people and people that are in leadership spaces, they they are really not cognizant of the trail that they leave. They want to leave a legacy. They want to leave, there are so many things that are just so pompous that they want to leave, but like the trail of impact that you leave along the lines is more impactful than what people see on your websites and all of that. And we can only get there by affecting and infecting people that are around us, by treating them with value. And you do that so beautifully. I am a cheerleader of what you do. Me, if you don't have a cheerleader, I'm dead.
Thank you so much. And I want to just say it's been such a humbling experience meeting you. And this conversation was very, I don't even know what the word is, but it warmed my heart a lot because you are speaking about things that I don't usually talk about. And I'm actually wondering where you got all this information from. And I appreciate that a lot. And it's things that I don't think I
It's because
always own with
follow
pride.
you and I stalk you.
I see your stalking level is quite, we must have an offline. So you teach me because you're very good. I must tell you that you are very, very good.
I'm about to go into our recording with Mogaleadi. And it is actually the reason why I do these videos, like in terms of like having like these pre-videos before I do, after I do the actual video and the actual interview. It's because it's such a reflective process on exactly the type of leaders that we are going into and the type of leaders that we are having conversations with. Most of these people, Mogaleadi, it was my first time, but I've met most of the people that I'm going to be interviewing in this series. But it's important for me to meet them again as people. And that is why we are having this, and this series is so important to me. And it is very important that we understand that there are some slight nuances when it comes to the women that move in mining and the women that move in civil. And they are, having worked in both industries, I think it's given me the best platform and the best understanding of the nuances and the disparities. But most importantly, I think what I have gathered from working in both industries, working with a couple of mining women and a couple of mining houses and people in civil. Obviously, I'm from both, but understanding that the differences are so similar. I don't know if that even makes sense. The differences are so similar, and I really wanted to. I really want my channel and this channel and the construct to really merge those conversations between women in mining and women in civil. I think we've always had that, people are in their corners, and I really want us to start having those conversations. So this conversation with the leader of women in mining, South Africa, was really important to me because it really gave us an understanding of how women really operate, the natural environment of women, which is juggling everything, and having conversations with women in their elements. I think the notion of always finding us in our suits and in offices is really, it's something that we really need to just cut off. But we really need to understand that we are jugglers of a lot. And I want to catch these women in their element, having those conversations when they're struggling, when they're triumphing, because it's in all of those lessons that we will become better women in the industries. So this channel is about conglomerating industry women, women that are in industries that are obviously male dominated, but industries, women that are in industries. And I think the women that understand what I'm talking about will get it, and it's important for us to have that. So I'm excited to have you guys see this episode between me and the president of the Women in Mining South Africa. She is she's always upright. She's always got her ducks, in a row. She knows what she's doing technically incredibly technically inclined. So it's she's one of those women that are leading in terms of service driving and service driven delivery in terms of projects when it comes to the South African landscape. I'm excited to have her on, and I'm excited to have you join us on this episode. And as usual, guys, please give this video a like. I would want your comments. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate what you guys did on the last video. Thank you. And I will see you next time. And for now, our episode with the president of Women in Mining South Africa, Mogaleadi.
Let's start. I'm not the type of person that does a bio. I feel like if you are watching this and you are part of this conversation and that person doesn't know what you do, they're in the wrong conversation. I want to go behind the voice behind. Okay, first of all, how do you pronounce your name? I don't want to butcher it.
Okay, so it's Mogaleadi. Yep.
You have a lot of fun introducing yourself, don't you?
I just think I don't want to go around assuming everybody knows me. And my name is not common as well. I do, and I take it quite seriously. So I always say I kind of rebranded in the past 5 years. So I used to go by a different name. If you meet someone who I met 5 years ago, they will use a different name, which is easier, more common. And when someone calls me that name, I realize, okay, this person actually knows me from way back. Because I decided to change. Yeah, from like back in the day. So I decided to start using my first name. I think it was in 2021, intentionally, because it's got a deep meaning for me and my life. I think at the point I was at the time. And that's why I started using it deliberately and went on to all my socials and removed the other name, which people find easier and more comfortable with, so that we all get used to using this new name, which means so much to me.
I can imagine. For me, when I have to, and that's why I respect people's names because it's so important that, when you address someone, you address them properly, and some people, like even with my daughter, like with these new kids, they will start putting English into Zulu words, and I'm like, no, that's not your name. Your name is not Untogozo. That's not your name. You need to teach people how to say your name.
Yep.
It carries so much weight. It carries so much weight, and
part of our identity.
And so much. Last year, actually, I think was my awakening when it came to my name, right? It's so interesting that we talk about this, because I realized after starting my business and, like I'm public speaking and I'm speaking to people and I'm mentoring and I'm doing all of this. I think it's only at that time when I realized what my name meant. Like I get into places and, I breathe life into the things that I do. And I'm good at that. Like if you're with me and within my presence, you will be alive. And I was like, oh my God, that's my name.
Yep.
Like I'm alive and live. Oh, like it's
our
crazy.
Elders always knew. They always knew.
They always knew. They always knew. Or maybe you just live up to what you are called. So how they say when parents say you will be this, it's already a blessing. They are, and then you kind of live up to it. How lovely.
It is wonderful.
Our culture is stunning. Okay, so I want to get into perspective a little bit in terms of just how you lead. If you were to describe your leadership, do you think, are you a culture nurturer or are you a culture cultivator?
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of English. And I'm going to have to be mindful of how I respond. Okay. So I actually was preempting the second option. I thought it was going to be a culture disruptor, but the
really? Okay.
I expected a big contrast. So nurturing and cultivating are not as far as apart as disrupting is, and I thought that's where you were going with your question. And I think top of my head, I would say I'm a culture cultivator and more of a disruptor in some occasions, because if
Of
you are
course
to
you are.
think about culture, it really depends on what we're talking about, where we are, and who we are talking about. So it's not all cultures that I naturally nurture, because they may not be speaking to the occasion, the people, and what we are trying to achieve collectively. So I always say to people, when we speak about culture, usually if I ask you, what is your culture, Pilile? You are probably going to respond from a family background, a community background that you identify with. And that's what you will say. In my culture, this is what we do. It's probably not going to be, unless it is in the context of professional environment and we're talking engineering and all of that, your response will be quite close to your personal identification and your people. And for me, it's quite important when we talk culture that we understand what setting we are referring to. And in the case of mining, when we're talking mining culture, it needs to speak to the people in mining and what they want to identify as, because we need to understand that because of our diversity, we come in with different cultures, and together we will need to then cultivate a mining culture that speaks to who we want to identify as, such that when someone then asks you, what is your culture? You speak to what you identify as collectively with the community you are in mining. Otherwise, we will continue having a culture that speaks to only certain people and not others. A culture that continues to, break people across the lines of difference. And that, for me, it shouldn't be nurtured as a culture because it is not inclusive.
Understand. And so you get 2 points. There's something that a line that, or maybe let me say a thread that I've picked up in your career. All right. So you're a firstborn daughter. Let's start there. You've got one of the best technical armors when it comes to like the technical in the technical space. Say about firstborn daughters, right?
That they are wounded. I'm joking.
No.
What else do they say?
Apparently, if you are dating a firstborn daughter, you have to be cognizant of the fact that they carry a lot of their father's energy, and it's very hard to be in a relationship because they are stern. They know what they want. Essentially, they are the carriers of that surname, so a lot of that power lives in them. Do you think that it was by coincidence that you wind up into the mining space, or do you think that it's actually that butch energy inside you that got you there?
Maybe the short answer is that it might not be what got me there, but it's definitely what's keeping me here. So I came into mining by, I don't want to say chance. I don't believe in chance, but I think it was always meant to be. I'm the first person in my whole clan to be in the industry. I had never met a miner. I had never seen a mine. I'd never heard of mining up until I was in grade 9, when I read about it in a brochure, and I decided then that I'm going to be to go into mining. And even when I was in matric, the 3 choices I applied for was mining engineering, metallurgical engineering. Third choice was geology, and I gave no thought to anything else. Prior to that, obviously, growing up in a rural village, we all wanted to be doctors. If you perform well in academics,
that was the prize.
Everybody encourages you. Yeah, if you don't want to be a teacher, it's okay, you'll be forgiven, but you must be a doctor. But it was out of, lack of exposure and all of that. So in terms of what you are describing around the character of a firstborn, who's also named after the matriarch of the family, I think that is part of what's keeping me. The spirit of not giving in, the spirit of just wanting to make it work for you and others, because you always have this thing that you don't do it just for yourself. If you quit, you're not quitting just for you. You're quitting the dreams of the family. You're quitting, everyone who's betted on you to take the next generation to a different, world. So for me, I wouldn't say it's what brought me in, but it's definitely what's helping me go through this journey in mining.
I can imagine when I think about your role and what you do. In essence, I stress when I'm on site and I have to work with other contractors, or you are at a space where you are managing like proper people and like proper companies with their own ecosystems, with their own behaviors and all of that. How are you sane?
So I think it's a journey, right? So when you start in mining as a young person with a nice qualification, you are not as sober as a well-seasoned, professional is with time. You are, let's say, high on dreams and wanting to be the boss and wanting to shift and disrupt and, cause change over time. But with time and maturity, you start to understand that it goes beyond just putting belts on the tons or on a ship to Asia or wherever. It is about changing the lives of the people you work with and understanding that the industry has a critical role to play in changing the way our lives are as in the context of South Africa, as people who work in the industry. Our jobs are not just about delivering value to those companies' shareholders, but changing the lives of the people we work with. And I always say my story is also that of how education and mining can transform one's life. So for me, how I manage is seeing people as people and starting from there. And when we start talking about culture, you cannot talk culture without people, right? So it's about starting to understand who are these people that I'm going to be leading? What are their fears? What are their dreams and hopes? What drives them? What scares them? And because with that understanding, you will understand their behavior and also position yourself as a leader that influences them in the direction we want to go as a team, as opposed to othering yourself, thinking there's you and them, and you need to bring them where you are. Sometimes we need to be the ones walking across to where they are so we can bring them across if there's a gap. Yeah. So for me, if you're talking managing at a personal level, seeing people as who they are. So if you're managing contractors, you would know in our industry that it's not always, same as employees working for the main employer.
Yes.
And what then happens is, as a leader, you then start managing at an organization level and trying to understand what is the culture of that contractor. You need to understand the people, but you need to understand the structure that they operate under. What is that organization's manifesto? What do they work? What's their mission? And what's their culture, safety culture? How do they see value, and what value are you trying to collectively create as a partner? Because it's a partnership. They're delivering service, right? So for me, it's understanding what and when as far as people are concerned. When you're talking to people, who are they? What drives them? But when you're talking to the organization, and the organization is the leaders, right? You need to be able to understand that if you want to shift things at an organizational level, it's going to be different to how you approach it at an individual or personal level with the people on the ground. Certain things are systemic, and you need to then address it at that level, where the change needs to be driven by that organization or the leadership of that organization in the context of mining contractors. Them understanding what is the ideal culture that we're working towards, what we see as good performance, what are best practices, what do we need to learn to do better. And for me, that's what drives, the partnership.
I like how you use such. I think it's also the industry. When we look at mining, right? I do a couple of projects in mining at construction. What I've realized is and what the industry, the mining industry has done and capitalized so lovely is that they have looked at contractors as service providers. And once contractors start looking at putting out that project as a service provider, they will want to give that value. They will want to have those, things in place. They will want, so
it's empowering.
when I looked at your the stats of your projects, they are insane. How do you hold the fist so? How do you do this? But
I
now
wear a size
we're not
10.
looking,
I'm joking.
because there are a lot of CPMs there, and what I like about you is that you are not a lady that goes, oh, you know what? I'm just a black lady in mining. Look at me. I'm such a. You come into here. Look at this. This is what I've done. These are the stats. This is how we change that. That's how we do it. That's what I need. That's what needs to be done. So you have a very service-driven mentality, analytical, a little bit. I would imagine if you're that analytical, you have to have a little bit of crazy. And how do you transfer it? Because all good and well for you to be excellent and for you to be the one that requires excellence out of the service providers that are put under your care. But it's also something else when you can transfer that vision to the service providers around you to a point where you collectively as partners put out a great project. How do you do that?
Yeah, and firstly, I don't want to take the full credit. So I always say the results we are seeing obviously is a reflection of our leadership and a collection of other things. And it's such a humbling experience as a leader when you can have people buy into your vision and the way you feel we need to be progressing. And it's a journey to get there. So I've managed some of the most difficult projects where I was scared myself. And it's the scariest thing for me wasn't whether we are going to deliver or not. It was what type of culture are we going to cultivate to drive our performance? Because I strongly believe that as a leader, I always said I'm not a truck operator. I don't know how to drive a truck. I don't know how to load with an excavator. So it's not going to be my direct effort that is going to get us to be productive. But where I come in is in empowering my people such that every one of them understands why they do what they do and why they need to just do it well. And you don't do that with a mouse and a screen. You go out into the field and you talk to people and they start to understand what you stand for. So I always laughed at one of the contractors I managed. They would, when I go to site, I would hear them speaking on the radio. I think they had a nickname or something that, there's certain things that needs to be in place because I'm there. And some of them would also tell me that, no, we heard that, okay, I'll use the other name. They used to to call me with the other name. They would say, yeah, they told us that Sandra say. And I'm like, but you shouldn't be doing it just because Sandra say. What does that person say here? Why don't they say what they want to say? Because it's not about me, especially when we come to safety. When you want to keep people safe, don't tell them to do it for me. If there's going to be an injury, who's going to get injured? Not me. So it's that person. You need to be able, as a leader, to influence a person to take ownership, to be able to understand that I'm not keeping standards for Sandra. I'm keeping the standards for my own safety. And that is motivating enough. For me, if someone is sane and they understand the consequences of not complying to standards and all of that, that is motivation enough. And my role is to uplift and uphold our standards. When you speak about excellence, I don't expect it from others when I cannot do it. I don't expect people to do what I am not willing to do. So if we are going to agree that this is our standard, then my role is to make sure I also keep to the same standard. So that people also see that it's not for them, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what usually sets leaders apart in the field, when you say one thing, but you are doing another. And people see us. They know us. I mean, we are the same people. They know when you are being authentic and if you are caring for them, or you're just holding a standard because it's written. So as a leader, you need to be open to learning from your people as well, because I always said, if people choose to not follow standards, that's a discipline. But if that standard is not practicable, or if there's issues with the way we want it to be delivered, it's not practical or whatever the case is. I mean, I'm not a shovel operator. I can get it wrong. Tell me what's the best and most practical and safest way to do it.
So
and then you show me, and then we can rewrite our standards. They are not cast in stone. So for me, that's what has been, that's what has served me in my leadership as far as driving performance and leading teams that, went easy at first. You don't always find a team that is ready to deliver the way you want, because every leader wants delivery, but we do it differently, right? Some come in with a size 10, some come in ready to run with the team, some are running ahead of the team, some behind.
Yeah.
So you really
Some are
need to
not there.
find some are not there, so it's really about also understanding that you are also on your own leadership journey. None of us, I believe, were born ready, as much as we'd like to believe it. But it's the people that we lead that also make us the leaders that we then become.
No,
So
that's
for
so
me,
true.
that's where
That's so true.
it also comes from, because it's a journey. It's a journey. And I've had the privilege of seeing teams emerge out of the most difficult situations. I mean, when you work in the industry that is so volatile and all of that, it's very hard to go through different circles with people. Go through all of that and still, emerge with a positive record of performance and culture. It's something that really makes one, stop for a moment and appreciate. Yeah.
I love how you see people. What is the one thing that you've learned about yourself through leading people? It's like parenting. I've learned so many things about myself just by parenting. It's such a mirror.
And sometimes
you
it's
know?
like watching yourself, right?
Mm.
When you're looking at children. I think the one big thing I learned about myself as a leader is that it's important to understand that I can get things wrong and I don't know everything, and I need to be gracious about that.
Okay.
And I appreciate it. So I don't go out as a know-it-all. I'm happy that I don't know it all. I go in with a very clear understanding of my contribution. It is a humbling thing for someone to learn when you most of your life have been finding things easy. If you've not struggled as a child in school, if you get a good education, you go out into the world thinking that you know everything and you're supposed to know everything.
Everything that is on your
Yes.
statement there, but it means you are smart.
Exactly. And then you get into an industry where it's really not about just the technical know-how. It's about the people, and with people, it's a lifelong journey of learning about people as well as yourself. So for me, if I was to single out one discovery that is seeming to be lifelong as well, is that I don't know it all. And it had to come out as a leader. Had I decided to go a specialist route, I'd probably still be thinking that, my mastery is all of who
because
I
that's
am.
all you do.
Yeah. I know it. You ask me about it, I will tell you. But now if you're telling me about leading people, I'd have to think, right? Leading people in the Mpumalanga region is not the same as leading people in the Northwest or Northern Cape or Limpopo region, even in the same industry. So as a leader, you can't claim, of course there are tools. There are things that are common. There are things that, are basic. As a leader, this works, this doesn't work. You're not testing everything all the time, but you need to accept that there are things that you are going to get wrong and be willing to learn.
That's when I think you can really tell if someone will be a great leader or not. I think it's in the way that they handle that conflict with themselves when you are challenged with something and have to be like, okay, actually, I don't know. Some people might, some other leaders just make something up. Because you're a leader, you're always right. So you make something up
You
and
must
make
know
people
it
do
all.
something. That's cool. That's totally.
Then you are not a leader.
So it also speaks. But what I also realized is that women leaders get to that place earlier than male leaders. And it's not that the male leaders don't get there. It just takes a little bit of time. And I think that's what puts us in the forefront, because we have that, we're able to self-actualize pretty quickly, and get to that point. Okay.
Humility.
Let's get something personal. What do you feel that you own embodies you the most? Some do you own that you feel like, you know what? Actually, this represents me. And it can't be your children
Is it
because I've thought about this.
physical?
Yeah, physical, physical.
Is it
It could be
physical?
physical. It could be physical. Okay, yeah, maybe let's start physically. Let's start with the physical one. Yeah.
Something that embodies me.
For instance, if I were rich, I would have a
Mhm.
red Ferrari outside, and that would be my entire personality. They'll be like, Pilila, what embodies you? I'm like, do you see that red tongue outside? That's me on the inside. Me.
Sure. That is something I've never thought of.
Thought about.
Something I own that
Mhm.
embodies me. So let
Do you
me
like
maybe
shoes?
put a bit of, sorry?
Do you like shoes?
Not much, and I wanted to say I don't like a lot of things. I'm trying to go minimal. So it's very difficult because I've lost attachment to things. I'm trying to lose attachment to
Really?
things. Really, really,
Really?
really. At the heart of my heart, I want to be a minimalist. And I've
My.
let go of physical material. Stroosbop. So that's why it's taking a bit of time to think because you could, like,
I understand why.
I could lose whatever. I have very
God
little
forbid.
care for material.
Mhm.
And I always say, if I was to win multi-millions, the signs would be me just hopping from one airport to another. That would be the sign that she's
Whoa,
won big. But it's
me and
not
you,
going to be.
me and you are opposites. For me, you will see the signs.
And that's why
know.
materially I'm struggling. Upopil. No, for
Aspire
me,
to be you, okay? The problem is I can't even afford myself. The way
you've
that
got
I like
an
things.
expensive taste. I'm losing love
I
for
get that.
things. That is my truth.
Oh, that's lovely.
And it's an interesting journey. Coming from a place of hoarding and and wanting to have more and now for more, the more things I want are not physical.
The one thing I
Yeah.
always pray for, the one thing that I always pray for, the older I get, I'm just like, you know what? God, as long as I have peace, anything else can follow because there's no
Yes,
point wanting to
exactly.
grab onto all these things. And inside you are racing, you are unsettled, so once you get to that point where there's peace and anything that comes with that, I want it. I want it.
No,
Okay,
and that's
last
what I'm
question.
aspiring towards as well.
To what? To one piece.
Yeah, to just not want and allow. So for me, and that's why I say if you're talking material things, there's not one that I would say this embodies me because if I was to lose it, then who am I?
Yeah, okay, fair. No, when you put it like that, I get you. Okay, last question.
Yeah.
We are looking at your career. The one thing you do so well is you are able to identify and tackle and win opportunity. If we're looking at the people that are coming after us and the Gen Zs, are we
Doing
winning
a
on
bit
that
of
side?
coaching in the background. Yeah, no, I'm yes. Don't test me.
How do you maximize on the opportunities? How do you do it? Like you're fairly young. You've been given really great opportunities and you've really maximized on it. How do you do it? First of all, how do you identify and how do you turn it into something that belongs in your brand kit when it comes
And
to
I
just
think you are
opportunities? Because that's
answering.
something that you're really good at.
I think that's the last part of what you said is part of the answer on why do you do what you do, and then aligning to opportunities that are in that direction. So I don't think it's the other way around. It's always being guided by why you do what you do, and then the what you do comes secondary. So for me, my big why is always around people, changing people's lives through education, through mining, through empowerment, and the opportunities that then align with that vision purpose then become clearer. I always tell people that as much as some people think I do everything, I don't. There's a lot of things that I just don't do, and they're great opportunities. But that's not what I want to do as part of my mission in life. So for me, maximizing opportunities is in serving. Most of the work I do is around serving others and driving value. And then the opportunities come. Not all of them look glamorous. Serving people needs a lot of humility. Sometimes you serve people who just don't like you. And sometimes you also have to serve people that you don't like. So it's really about being driven by why. Why do you do it? It's about changing people's lives. So sometimes, besides being a parent and all of that, you have to remind yourself that people are not always going to buy into why you do what you do. They may not like it, but you do it with that intention of taking them to a different and better place. And that keeps me going, because there are some of the way we administer, or we try to contribute into society that is painful, or it's not nice. If I'm thinking about the work we do in Women in Mining, or the work I've done previously, it's not always hanky-dory and perfect and nice. It's really sometimes with the understanding of the bigger picture. What are we driving here? And if you were to use a metaphor, it's like taking medication or an injection. It's a painful process, but it's what's healing. It's good for you. And it's in that understanding that we understand that it's not always going to be perfect and nice, but it is for a better good. For a greater good. So that's, for me, it's the service. That's where I maximize opportunities and just take what I get and serve and see what happens when it gets into the hands and lives of other people.
It also speaks to the thread of loving what you do, because you can't serve in places you don't like.
Yeah.
And by virtue of that, because you don't serve, then you won't be able to be in spaces that will give you sometimes the most amazing opportunities, because you are picking things based on just selfish intent. And whereas you were saying that, like you are in one of the most hectic industries, and your team, the teams that you build are under duress most of the time. But that's when most of the best teams are built, hey? You realize the people you go through the crappiest projects with, you never forget. And that were there, you never forget.
That is, the truth. And I always say some of my best relationships professionally came out of those hardships, where we at some point didn't like each other and we felt you're pushing me too hard, or but because we stood the test together and we supported one another for the same mission, we come out even stronger with refined and better relationships. So personally, I don't like relationships where we're tiptoeing, because there's no growth. If we are not going to test each other's boundaries and stick together, then we're most likely not going to enjoy, a mature relationship. So you are spot on. It's in those relationships that best teams come out, and, success comes out.
Lost one. I always say each leader has like their own table, and some leaders have like, like bells and jewels, and, some leaders have, like learning and mentorship, some have fruits, as a leader, you choose what is served on your table, right? I want to ask you, how does someone get a seat at your table? Who do I have to be to get a seat at your table?
First, you have to be authentic. Be just an authentic human being with no ill intentions. So I struggle a lot with people who come in to self-serve. Because like I said, most of the missions I go on are not for my personal benefit. So I want to go there with people who have the same thinking, that it's not just for me. And the truth is, it is for me too. I get a lot of fulfillment, right? But that's not it's a byproduct. So for me, you have to be authentic around serving and be interested in other people, regardless of who they are. So I think those two are the big things that kind of keep people around me, or I stay around those types of people. And be optimistic, right? The truth is, life has no guarantees. And I struggle with people who just see the negative. So what if it goes wrong? What if the plane falls? What if, and I'm like, but what if it doesn't? What if we win? What if our dreams actually come true? What if you actually make it? So I enjoy sitting around the people who will also call me out when I'm being overly negative, because it happens, where you are scared and you let fear take over. But mostly I enjoy optimistic people who will see beauty in areas where others just see coal dust. I enjoy, people who are, and I always say they are Telugu fast. I don't know how to explain it, but they are willing to push
Oh,
it, to push
Telugu.
bounds, and
Yeah.
do the scary things and just be adventurous. Life is as long or short as you want it to be, but I don't know, just try. Don't sit in the unknowing, the I've never done it, the I cannot. Otherwise, it remains. But just dare greater than what you've done before, what you've thought before. When something comes into your knowing that didn't exist before, explore it, be curious. So for me, that's where, those are some of the people that I enjoy keeping close, and working with and learning from. Because I still understand that I'm also growing. I don't know it all. And I appreciate sitting at tables where there's new information being shared. There's new ideas being tested. And I also can then start dreaming bigger. But if it's going to be conversations around, fear and the world coming to an end and we're going into World War, I don't know what.
What are we going to do?
We're going to die. And I'm like, but it's not today. Today, what can we do while we're still here?
Not today. You know what?
Yeah, so
My dad used to say, put meaning in the time. Time will always go, time will be moving. It's always up to you and what you do with it. That is good.
True.
Is going to be, that it's going to matter, And if you living your life being scared of jumping into things, you're not going to put any meaning into any time, and time is just going to pass you by. And then what? And then you are safe. There's a Zulu saying that says, in contrary, there's a Zulu saying that says, "Abagasmindi," like meaning if you
Brave
are courageous,
ones.
you will die. Yeah, the brave
Yes.
ones. They don't have a surname, but Abagakwala do, because there are people Abagakwala. So
They're
they always
safe,
say
right?
sometimes you must go into things, but you must.
But sometimes, yeah. And I mean, we also have it in Sepedi where we say, but it's also being mindful about what you fear. You can't fear things that, okay, maybe you can fear whatever you want to fear, but have some faith in something at least. And because fear and faith, just two opposite ends.
You have
It's
to.
things that don't
You have
exist.
to. You have to.
That might never happen. So have faith in something. If you're going to fear growth, then where's your faith as far as growth is concerned? So I'm not reckless in thinking in ideas and all of that, but I'm just saying, just dare, try it. There's a lot of great ideas that are sitting in people's minds, including mine, that have not been tested because we are scared. And I'm also not always courageous. I mean, I always say, I think some of the things that are holding me back is my education, because I understand risk and I understand what to fear. But sometimes those are the things. Those are the things that are holding me back.
It cripples you. Yeah.
I risk analyze. Yes, I'm not too good for my own good. I mean too much for my own good. So
that's your problem.
It's about
that's
balancing.
the problem.
Exactly. So it's about balancing that with just trying things out. Dare. One of my most favorite coaches, or I don't know what you'd like to call her, but leadership. And I say leadership. I don't think she calls herself a leadership coach or anything like that. But it's Brene Brown, and she talks about courage and vulnerability. And I've listened to her. I've read most of her work, and I think that's what I always try to remind myself that it's okay to fear. It's normal and natural, but also in that same spirit, you can have courage, and you need to just be able to say, this is the time where I will exercise my courage and dare greatly. And sometimes it's in that way, and understanding that it's a way of being vulnerable, putting yourself out there into spaces that you've never been, people like you have never been, you were not invited into, and just going in and saying, let me see what happens.
People don't want you
Let me see
there.
what happens. And
And imagine